very excited about the challenges of the season, but even more excited about, what you have to do to try to, develop a team that can play with consistency, guys that can go out there and give the kind of effort, play with the kind of mental toughness, ability to sustain, execute, do their job together as a unit, and have the kind of team chemistry that promotes the togetherness that you want on the team so that you can be successful. And then the next challenge is can you sustain that? We've had some really good speakers here the last couple nights, but if you sort of boil it down to what's the message, it's all about choices. Michael Phelps, spoke last night and talked about your actions speak louder than words. You have a short window to really accomplish things as an athlete because it's not something that you can do your entire life, at least as football players. So make a commitment to doing things that you need to do on and off the field that's going to help you be successful. But that's also been the message from everybody else. It just comes down to choices and decisions. So the kind of choices and decisions the individuals on our team make is going to make the team what it is. We have some good pieces. It's kind of interesting to me that I see articles every day that you'll decided already, what kind of team we're going to have, what the expectations are for the team. I think in some ways this creates a much more difficult challenge to have players, be hungry, try to prove what they can do together as a group. But it is a challenge that, we're willing to deal with, and, hopefully we've got the right kind of leadership on our team to be able to overcome some of that so that we can avoid complacency and stay focused on doing the right things, deal with success if we have success, be able to deal with frustrations if we have failures. And I think how we manage all those things will determine what kind of team we really have. You asked me about injuries the other day. Obviously, Cam Latu is the guy that you asked me about. He has a minor knee injury. He's going to be out a couple weeks. I don't know exactly how long that is. Happened about 10 days ago. So these things usually go day to day. We had Hastings came in with an injury. We fixed. He'll be back shortly, probably. Elijah Pritchard tore his pec in the weight room a while back in the summer, so he'll be out for a little while, Had a shoulder injury coming in. It was bothering him, and so we decided to fix it, so he'll be out for a little while as well. But Aaron Anderson has a little knee injury, but he'll probably be back in a few weeks as well. So those are kind of all the guys on our team that have issues. 4 of them are freshmen. So we're just kind of trying to get better each and every day and challenge guys to be the best that they can be on a consistent basis.
Coach, this kind of goes along with your opening statement, but how well have Will and Bryce done it, kind of remaining hungry, remaining focused, and avoiding that complacency after the seasons they had?
Will and Bryce are great. They do a good job every day in practice. They're very focused on what they want to do, what they want to accomplish. These guys are sort of driven individuals. That's why they've had the success that they've had to this point. But I haven't seen any indications at all that they're not continuing with that same drive to be the best that they can be. They continue to set good examples for other players on the team. They're not an issue. I think their leadership has been very, very helpful in helping other players actually continue to make good choices and decisions so they can be successful.
Could you assess the competition at the corner spots?
Well, I think the good news is we have competition. I can't tell you that any guy on the depth chart has sort of separated himself in terms of who's the most consistent performers, who's going to give up the fewest plays, who's going to be the best tackler. But we do have really good competition at all those positions. Kyrie Jackson Eli Ricks battle it. Kool-Aid and Terrion Arnold battle it. Jaquez Robinson has shown a lot of improvement to be a contributor at, some position. I think Brian Branch could actually play corner if we needed him to. We do practice him some there, so I can't give you any, like, it's a horse race, who's in the lead, who's in second, who's in third. That's why we have competition.
On that line, how has Eli Ricks progressed since he got here in the spring?
He's made a lot of improvement. I think that, Eli sort of, with the injuries that he had and the time that he was off, it was really a more difficult transition for him physically, emotionally, mentally, to come from where he was to where he needs to get to be the kind of player that he wants to be. And we certainly want to help him do that in every way we can. And I think sometimes when you go through all those things, it can affect your confidence a little bit because you get frustrated and struggle because you're not used to being in the kind of condition that you once were, because no fault of his, but he had some difficult circumstances to overcome with the injuries and so forth. But he is making very, very good progress, physically and on the field, in terms of grasping the system and having a better understanding of what's required of him to be a good player.
Just what do the summer additions at receiver bring to the offense, especially an older guy like Tyler Harrell, and how do you feel like that receiving core is coming together?
I think Jermaine Burton is the guy that has played with the most consistency out of the receiver group. Of course, he was here in the spring, so he's a little ahead of the other guys. Tyler has been sort of in and out a little bit to this point. He has been able to practice on a daily basis, but not 100%. I do think that he has shown that he has a lot of ability. We just need to get it channeled in the right direction so that we can use him in a way that's going to be most productive for him and for us. The freshmen, I think they've all showed some promise. Which ones are going to be able to sustain? That's always the most difficult thing for the younger guys on the team. They've never been through a college season. They've never been through a fall camp, probably as demanding as what a college fall camp is. So we'll see who can sort of sustain and continue to grow and develop. And I think there are some guys there that could make a contribution depth-wise as well.
Given the depth at the running back position, do you kind of go into the fall with an idea of how you want to spread out carries, or do you kind of just let that play out? What's the thought process behind kind of how that plan works?
Well, the plan works that the best players play. I mean, we don't have a plan to say, okay, this guy gets this many reps, this guy gets this many reps, this guy gets, if this guy's the best player, then we're going with the best player. Then the next best player is going to spell him, and he'll get playing time. If somebody else can contribute in terms of a winning performance, then whether it's on special teams or whether it's in a limited role that we create for them, we're certainly going to try to do that. But it's good to have depth at that position. This is a position where we had significant injuries last year. So, but just let the guys compete. But you compete, and the guy that comes out the best is the guy that has the most opportunities, and that's just how we've always assessed, the positions on our team.
Coach, you mentioned Michael Phelps coming in and speaking last night. How do you determine each fall who these guest speakers are going to be? Is it more connections you have? Is it connections on the staff? And then just how important are those speakers to kind of set the mindset each camp?
It's all about messaging. You've heard me say this many times before. We're trying to help our players be more successful in life in terms of sort of the psychological disposition, the mindset that they can create for themselves in terms of the habits that they create that's going to contribute to them being successful in whatever they choose to do. And realizing what they do on the field and off the field are things that I think a lot of lessons can be learned from those things that can carry over in their life. So when we do evaluations of who's going to speak to the team, we actually do evaluate what is their message. All these people have a message they've spoken somewhere before, and if we think that's something that can impact our players and create interest in them making sort of the choices and decisions and changes they need to make to help them be more successful, that's how we determine who we'd like to visit with them. Sometimes it's sort of character development. Sometimes it's also behavioral issues, which all come down to choices and decisions as well that can sidetrack your chances of being successful, in the future, because that's also very, very important. So understand the consequences of good, bad behavior, cause and effect. All those things are taken into consideration when we try to make an impact and influence on what will help these guys make better choices and decisions to have a better chance to be successful.
So what have you seen from Jaheim Otis and his weight loss this offseason? Just how have the physical parameters of that defensive line position evolved over the last 15 years?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I mean, I have to say that it was hard to admire the views when we suffered that much, but
Well, I think that I am pleased with several of our guys. We've almost eliminated a lot of weight issues, which come from a scientific approach, not me looking at a guy and saying he needs to lose 10 pounds, but a muscle mass, body fat correlation that helps a guy be most efficient. And I'm pleased with the way a lot of our big guys have sort of got that into balance. I think Miss Amy does a really good job of, helping guys. Again, it goes back to the kind of choices and decisions you make about, what you eat, when you eat it, how much you eat of certain things that can create the kind of increase of muscle mass, decrease of body fat that makes you a more efficient player. When I say efficient, I'm not talking about your ability to do something once. I'm talking about your ability to sustain it, for 40, 50 plays in the game at the same high level. So those guys have done a good job. I think it's contributing to them being better football players. And I'm pretty pleased with the overall team improvements that we made from that standpoint, as well as explosive movements and speed. I think, Dave Blue and his group have done a really good job of motivating the players to work hard in some of those areas, which hopefully will be helpful on the field.
Coach, in your last press conference, you talked about the continuity of bringing back Coach Golding, Coach O'Brien at the coordinator position. Can you talk about the three new coaches, Coach Robinson, Coach Wolford, and Coach Cox, and what they bring to your staff?
We actually have 4 new coaches, but I had to think about that for a minute. Well, first of all, I think continuity is important. I think it's important for players, in relationships that they have, respect and trust that they develop in the people who are trying to help them be successful. Coaching is teaching, teaching is ability to inspire learning. So to have that respect and trust, I think, is beneficial for all players. We've had a lot of changes here in leadership positions. We've made pretty good transitions in that regard. But I think to have the continuity on the staff enables you in the off-season to do a better job from a quality control standpoint of evaluating what did we do last year, how could we make it better. And I think that's really, really one of the most important things that we can help ourselves systematically with. So player relationships, systematic implementation of the system, how we could do it better from a year ago, all those things I think contribute in a positive way. All the new coaches that we have, Wolf is really a good offensive line coach. I think he's developed really good relationships with the players. I like the progress that we made in the offensive line. Coach Cox is probably one of the brightest young guys that we've seen for a while, so we're glad to have him on the staff. T-Rob has got a really good relationship with the players. They relate to him really well. He's done a good job of learning the system. Having Charles Kelly there in the secondary too has been beneficial. And I think Coleman has done a really, really good job with special teams. His energy and enthusiasm and getting the players to buy in to play special teams is one of the most important things that you do. Plus, I think we've improved ourselves systematically. So I think all the additions on the staff have been a real plus for us.
What's the biggest challenge integrating a transfer into a positional group that's already been established, that have already been teammates for a while, and getting that dynamic into the right place?
I think that we've always, and I think our players have always done a good job of this, we've had so many new guys come into the program. Even back in the years, how many freshmen have we had contribute to the success of our team? I mean, we won a national championship in 2017. There were six freshmen on the field when we won the game in overtime. All three receivers. Leatherwood was playing left tackle. Najee Harris was playing tailback. Tua was playing quarterback. So we've always promoted for our current players to embrace new players. And I think our players want to win, and our players understand that when we bring players in and they help them in the transition, that it actually enhances our chances of being successful. And I think our players have done a really, really good job of that. So everybody wants to play. Competition, I think, is a good thing in terms of helping everybody get better, because it makes everybody better. Not only the guys you're competing against, but the guy at your position, but also what kind of guys do they have that you go against every day. That helps guys develop tremendously. So our players have a pretty good respect for that, and they've always sort of embraced, guys coming in to the program. So, and the guys that we brought in so far, they've done a really good job of buying into the principles and values of the organization. So it was easy for all of us to respect and trust them in terms of how they can contribute and what they could do. All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
And with that, Event 5, the Capitol, is in the books. And what a finish.
If you want a reason to walk into a CrossFit affiliate, I can think of no better example than that moment right there. Because you get that every day you walk into the gym.
In any gym.
Any gym.
Any CrossFit gym, you get that.
And whether it's you're coming in with, you're coming in the gym and you're last because you're of the workout of the day, or you're coming in with your own personal baggage that maybe people don't know about, and you're going to get that. You're going to get this camaraderie inside your affiliate. You're going to get this camaraderie inside your gym. You're going to get that in every class. You're going to have coaches there. You're going to have people that want the best for you as a person. It goes well beyond the sport at this point. It goes well beyond you as an athlete. That's correct. And you as a human being being celebrated by other human beings is the most beautiful part of this community.
And even the athletes still hanging around. Noah Olsen was there to cheer everybody across the finish line. Gabby McGowan picks up the event win, followed by Laurel Horvath. Tia Toomey looks to overtake Mal O'Brien for the overall lead after this event, and that margin could be very slim between the two of them. Brooke Wells and then Haley Adams rounding out the top 5. On the men's side, Ricky Garrard picks up his second win of the competition, 31 minutes, 54.47 seconds. Roman Krenikov will finish in second. Travis Mayer's top time from heat number 1 is good enough for third. Sam Plunt and Jason Hopper finishing 4th and 5th. What an incredible start to day number 3 here in Madison, Wisconsin. A memorable event to kick things off. Plenty more action to come today. Want to thank Chris Hinshaw for joining us in the booth. Always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much. You can head to games.crossfit.com for official results, standings, and more. We're just getting started here on day number 3 of competition of the 2022 Noble CrossFit Games. Team action.
Awesome. Obviously excited to see you guys again. Don't get to do this a lot, so every time we get to do this, it's normally the start of something and the end of something. And so, our guys, obviously, I've been working extremely hard this summer. I think what's a little different about college football now, those 2 hours you get with them in the summer in June and July are huge going into camp. So, I think this is the first year since I've been here, and this is year 5 for me. I think we got leadership at every level of the defense. We got old guys, obviously, up front, and DJ Dale and the Boy Bees and Byron Youngs that understand the system, understand the expectation, and providing leadership in that group. Obviously, you got Henry back in the inside room after a year experience in our system in the process here. You got Moody that's been here, obviously, year 5, that's got some game experience, but more importantly, knows the expectation and is hungry to try to earn that starting position. And then the back end with the Battles coming back and the DeMarco Helms coming back that understand the checks, the adjustments, how to practice and what it's going to take. This is the first time, I think, in 5 years at every level you've got experience coming back. With the addition of that, obviously we've added in some new players, whether it be in transfers or freshmen. It's going to be our responsibility to get those guys, bring them along. I think they understand after the summer what it takes to compete here. And obviously from a defensive standpoint, the terminology and what it's going to take, to not make mental errors on Saturdays, which is most important. So I like where we're at. I think the leadership is where it needs to be. We got to continue to develop the bottom of the roster with these young guys. It's a new year. I think those guys that are in that room, the DJ Dales, the Will Andersons, the Henry Tohotos, I think they remember the last 15 minutes of football that they played. All right, and it's not how we wanted it to be. And the bottom line, we didn't get it done when we needed to. We couldn't stop the run when we needed to. So I think that's still in the gut. And I think that's, when they come to work every day, we want them to remember that feeling, just like we remember that feeling. And it's going to take, it's going to be up to us, obviously as a unit, us collectively as a team, to prepare the right way so we don't feel that again. All right? Yep.
Just wanted to ask about Jaheim Otis and the weight that he's lost this offseason, and also just in your time around the game, how you've seen the defensive line position evolve physically from maybe some of the bigger guys of the past to what it is now.
Absolutely. For Jaheim, obviously he's from Mississippi, so I recruited Jaheim. So to see his transformation over a 4-year period, because Jaheim first came to camp here in 8th grade and got an offer in 8th grade. And obviously you can see spurts on tape throughout his high school career that he could be really special. And then you can see a lot of plays where he's taking a play off, it's like, okay, that's going to get us beat. So the most exciting thing for me, Jaheim, he's always been a great kid. But, when he accepted to come to Alabama, he knew what it was going to take. He knew it was going to be hard. He could have gone to a lot of other places where he wasn't asked to do what he's going to be asked to do here. And he knew weight was the biggest thing, and this is what we had to focus on. And that ended up being one of his biggest decisions to come here, was the nutrition, was Miss Amy, and the strength and conditioning, to be able to develop him and get him down to where he needed to be to play good winning football. And he's done an unbelievable job of that, so I'm excited about him. I think collectively as a unit, I think that's your next question, I think they know what to do. I think it's important to them. I think they're playing hard. Obviously, I think the biggest thing up front is you can't make your own play. I think sometimes at every level we have guys that press, that want to make plays, and in turn you don't do your job, and that's when explosives occur. Whether we're not in our gap, our rush integrity is not right, we get a scramble, they create explosives. So I think we're better as a unit. I think Coach Roach does a good job with that, so we're expecting big things from him.
Coach, could you talk a little bit about the competition at the inside linebacker position next to Henry with Moody and some younger guys and the rest?
Yeah, absolutely. I think obviously, no position here is in stone, but obviously Henry had a good year. He's got leadership, right? So he's at the right position. I think at that will spot, right, based on what you're in, whether you're in a 3-4 system or a 4-2, based on what you're seeing. You've got Moody that's got experience in the system. You got Deontay Lawson, who I think had a good spring, had a good summer. I think he's having a good fall camp. I think there's a push right there right now. And then you add young players to that with Jahide Campbell. And I think Ian Jackson has been preparing the right way, practicing hard. So, and we're moving some guys around, and we're getting those guys to compete, and that's what fall camp's for. But, yeah, we'll have to come out of camp and see who that guy is.
Sticking with the linebackers, you obviously get Will back, but also Dallas finished the season strong. Just what do you see from that unit as a whole, and what can that duo kind of bring to this defense this fall?
Yeah, obviously, I think, if you got one elite pass rusher, I think people can play for him and chip him and, do certain things. When you got two, I think that's an exciting thing. But I think most importantly, obviously, you got to be able to stop the run on base downs to get them in obvious passing downs. Let's let these guys go rush and do what they do best. But I think the depth of that position, what is unique, because you talk about Will, you talk about Dallas, which Will had a great year. Dallas, towards the end of the year really started coming on. But Chris Braswell's been really showing up. Heavy-handed, good pass rusher. We got a lot of depth at that position to where we got to do a good job as coaches to get our best players on the field. And what package allows those guys to stay on the field regardless of the down and distance, regardless of the personnel that you're going against. So I think it's going to be critical for those guys to be on the field for us to be at our best.
Hi, Coach. What have you seen from Will Anderson from the end of last season and now that says, I don't have to worry about him getting complacent? He's still working to get better, still doing everything you wanted.
Yeah, I think that's what's different about Will than a lot of people. Like that, Will's always been that way, and so he came in hungry, preparing the right way, and I think Coach used this term relentless discontent. Like that's who Will is. All right. So regardless of what individual accolade he gets and all the praise he gets from you guys and all that, like that doesn't change who Will is. Will shows up every day with the same mindset. And I'm gonna outwork everybody else. I'm gonna prepare harder than everybody else, and I'm gonna improve my craft. So I don't have to put expectations on Will. All right. He has his own. He's the hardest on himself. So he's different than a lot of guys, but he doesn't let the noise get to him. He's trying to be the best football player he can be, and then he's trying to bring people with him. And that's a daily job for him that he looks forward to.
A transfer comes into a positional group that's established. How closely do you watch the dynamic of the team component when you have a guy who's coming in to challenge an already established group?
Yeah, absolutely. So normally when you take a transfer, you're saying, hey, there's an immediate need at the position, right? Or you would normally go younger and have time to develop it, right? So there's already going to come in, and that room's going to think that, all right, he's coming to do what? He's coming to compete, right, for competition. But I also think you have to have the right people in the room already. I'm talking about from a character standpoint, right, that like to compete and want that. They want somebody else to bring out the best in them. So I think that the group that we have in there in the defensive back room are very humble, hardworking guys that aren't egotistical. That, hey, Coach, you can bring in anybody we want. I know I'm not to compete, and I know I'm going to have to be my best. And we want the best guy, whoever it is in this room, to play so we can be at our best to win the football game. Now, from the transfer standpoint, I think it's who is the guy. I think you got to know who you're bringing in, all right, from a character standpoint, because if he comes in and he's not the guy, and he doesn't have a good moral compass and he doesn't have high character, you can have issues. All right, and then now what's that do to your locker room? What's that do to the position group? But the ones that we brought in, first and foremost, they got to be the right type of people, and then secondly, all right, they got to be able to help impact our team in some way on some team. So I think what we've done on all the transfers we brought in, they have both.
Here, Coach.
Yes, sir.
There's been a lot said about the pressure you guys are able to generate on the edge, but in terms of interior pressure, maybe especially on the defensive line, who are some of those guys that you could see kind of filling the role that you've had with, Fedarian Mathis, Quinton Williams, those kind of guys?
Yeah, I think obviously it's early. We just put pads on yesterday, but, I think, between Burrows, Jamil Burrows, I think he's got some twitch in there. Byron, obviously. We leave DJ in there. DJ's been an every down player for us right now, knows what to do, gives great effort. Believe it or not, Jaheim has got a lot more wiggle than y'all are going to think he's got. All right, so, he's a guy internally that if you leave one guy on him, good luck. But, we'll package that. Jamarian Latham showed up. We've got a lot of guys that would normally be 5 techniques in a 4-2 system that when you get to third down, you bump them inside to the 3 techniques, and this goes get those guys one-on-one. But, the thing that we've got to do is it doesn't matter. On third down, if you're going to rush 4 guys, who are your 4 best pass rushers? I don't give a shit if you call them outside linebacker, D-line, or inside linebackers. Let's get them 4 guys to rush and put them where we need to put them. And that's what we're going to have to do.
Coach, you talk about having leadership at every level and then also having younger guys you need to bring along. How much does it help having leaders on the team that can help you do that where it's not just all on the coaching staff?
No, I think it's huge. I think every great team that I've been around is player run. I think obviously in anything that we do, hey, here's the expectation, here's the standard. But if the people under you aren't upholding that and pushing other people around them to it, you're not going to get what you want. And so I think it's huge that it's spread on both sides of the ball. I think a lot of times you see certain teams where it's loaded on one side. I'm not saying from a talent standpoint. I'm saying from a leadership standpoint, and one side slips. So I think this is a unique team to where we've got leadership in the right spots on both sides of the ball that is important to them, and they do it the right way, but they bring people with them. So, yeah, I mean, it's got to come inside out, not always top down.
Coach, you had an offseason incident in February. What have you taken away from that, and how have you moved forward from that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think anytime you're in a leadership role in anything that you do, you've got a responsibility. So I think it's, every day we talk to our kids about making good decisions, right? And that there's consequences for making bad decisions. And I made a very poor decision that affected a lot of other people than just myself, all right? And it was selfish. And I know it opened up a lot of emotions for a lot of people because people can be affected by making that decision. And I was wrong, and I got to suffer the consequences for it. And I've done a lot of things in my life, obviously, to adjust what I did, right, to become a better person for it, whether being a father, a husband, and a coach. And I think the biggest thing for me, obviously, is like I told the team. I met with them that next day. It's like, look, man, I can tell you anything I want. I got to show you, right? And so to provide that leadership and get the trust back from the team and made a mistake and learn from it and move on.
Stay over there with Kerry.
Hey, Coach, tell us how things are going at the cornerback competition on both sides, both corners.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, from a game experience standpoint, Kyrie comes back with game experience from last year. Kool-Aid had game experience from last year. You bring in a guy that had SEC game experience in Eli Ricks. But then we've got some younger guys that have been here at least a year, and I think Terry Arnold is really flashing. And I think every day those guys got to come in and compete. So, I mean, that's what this camp is about. We're going to get through this camp, and we're going to find the best two corners. And ain't who's listed at right corner, who's listed at left corner. We're moving that around daily. We're giving them all an opportunity to compete against the best guys and see who can cover versus our ones. But I think every day, that is a battle that we're moving around to see who comes out on top. But I think there's 5 guys right now that are pushing to who's the best two, and find a way to rotate the others.
You talked a little bit about Jalen Moody, and I wanted to ask a little bit further about that in terms of his game experience and just being able to be in your system for his second year. Have you seen anything, in the time, in fall camp and in the spring that has really jumped out at you? Is there anything that he's done that's really improved?
I think the biggest thing with Jalen, and he knows this, we talk about this, is consistency. So there have always been flashes that you'll be able to see, hey, there it is, right? But then come back in the next day and the inability to be able to stack it, right? And then the next day it's like, no, that's not it. Like, that's going to get us beat, whether it's on the field or whether it's off the field. And so I think consistency in the decision-making process and then the proper preparation, right? And then once he's out there, hey, let my rules apply and play fast. And I think we've seen more of that, but we got to get the pads on, put them in a live environment. We start getting these scrimmages and really evaluate it and make sure we got the best guy at that spot.
Hey, Coach, I know you're not able to talk about specific recruiting in the current climate, but you're known as a very effective recruiter. What is your approach in that living room and be able to convince a kid to come to Alabama?
Hey, I work for the greatest coach of all time at the University of Alabama. What the hell's wrong with you? No. So, I mean, obviously, I think recruiting has changed a little bit over the years. I think when I was Division II and 1AA, it was about, hey, who had the best relationship, who was willing to outwork everybody else, all right? Who's the guy that's going to help them make a decision, or female that's going to help them make the decision, right? And why can we do it better than anybody else? All right, well, it's still like that to some degree for some guys, but for most, let's be honest, it's not. Right? Does that make sense? So then at that point, now all they want to know is, hey, what is it in it for me? Right? So, hey, you get to learn under the leadership of the best coach to ever do it. Here's the strength and conditioning aspect of how we can make you better. So now to me, you're using more of, all right, what do I have? Right, to enhance, obviously, their experience as a student athlete for them to get what they want, and that's the NFL. And in the process, how can you use the University of Alabama's brand, Nick Saban, to market your name, image, and likeness to allow you to make more money while you're enrolled as a student athlete? And I think the University of Alabama, more importantly, I think Nick Saban allows young people to be able to do that better here than anywhere else. And I think so if you got a good product and anything that you do, normally that's easier to sell. Now you still got to develop a relationship, you still got to identify it right and give them what they need, so that's a piece of it. But to me, I'm who I am, regardless who it is, and they're either like that, they don't. It's my responsibility to provide the information for them. Hopefully we have better stuff than everybody else and they make the best decision for them. So I think it kind of does it for itself.
Hi, Pete. On paper, do you think that this team, this defense specifically, personnel-wise, has the chance to be the best, most talented group you've coached since you've been here at Alabama?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't look at all that. Be honest with you, I come in every day. How can we improve today? When I normally leave this building tonight, I feel like we're about to get our ass whooped. It's just normally that type of day, right? And then we show back up the next day, and how can we take one step? So, we're fortunate to have some good players. They still got to prepare the right way, practice the butt off so we can get it on Saturday. But we've had great players here in the past, so it's buying in, doing the right thing, competing every day, right? Pulling people with you, and let's see what happens.
All right, Pete. Thanks for your time.
All right, appreciate it, guys.
Thank you, Coach.
Open, and then we'll get to questions. Please raise your hand and we'll get to you.
Morning, everybody. Like I said before, very excited to be here going into my second season. This has proven to be, a very special place to coach. Obviously, the coaching staff, led by Coach Saban, the players here, the support staff, everything is top notch. So it's really been a great experience for me over the last year and a half. Offensively, obviously we have a lot to replace from last year. When you think about the guys that aren't here anymore, that are, some of those guys are on to the NFL. But obviously with Bryce back, that is a very good thing. We have an excellent quarterback, but when you lose guys like Evan Neal and you lose guys like Jamison Williams and John Mechie, you have to find out who can replace those guys. And it's very early in camp, and we're finding that out. On a side note, but a very important note, I just want to talk about John Mechie real quick. John Mechie is a very special guy in this program. Coach Saban, myself, Coach Wiggins, we've all heard and reached out to John, and we've heard from John, and John is a very positive guy, and our thoughts and prayers are with John as he deals with what he's dealing with. Great football player, but an even better person. Back to football, we have a very solid returning group of core players, some exciting transfers, but we're only really in day 3. We're just starting out here, so looking forward to progressing each and every day. These guys are working hard. They practice hard. They practice with spirit and good energy, and it's an exciting time to beginning this season as we get going on 2022. So with that, I'll open it up to questions.
There's a good deal of speculation this offseason connecting you to different NFL jobs. Just what was your level of contact there, and what sort of commitment did you make going into this Alabama job?
No, I've made a commitment to Coach Saban. Those things come up relative to what your role is in different programs, where you've been. I've been doing this a long time, and I've had various roles in coaching, so obviously those things come up. But I've made a commitment to Coach Saban. I love coaching here. The players, the coaching staff, it's been, like I said in the opening statement here, it's been a really good experience. I've learned a lot. I'm very appreciative to Coach of giving me this opportunity.
Kind of a two-parter. What is Bryce Young's work ethic and preparation like behind the scenes? And were there any specific areas you wanted him to focus on off-season to get better?
Yeah, he's very well prepared behind the scenes. He puts a lot of work into it. He's a very bright young man. He's got great poise, in addition to the talent that he has. But he works very hard every single day to try to get better at certain things, whether it's footwork or pocket presence or learning different protections and what we can do to adjust different things relative to what we're seeing from a really good defense, working with receivers, on timing and things like that, and all the other things that go into the offense. Bryce does a great job. He's been a joy to coach. He's the same guy every day, very consistent guy, good leader, and it's just been a joy to coach him.
Coach, could you just comment on the competition at the offensive tackle spots?
Yeah, look, we feel like we have a good mixture of veteran players there. with some incoming guys, or maybe guys that maybe didn't just get here but have been here for a year. That position takes a while to develop. Coach Wolford has done a great job in the 6 months that he's been here of working with those guys, to get into the specifics in each and every guy and how we're doing it. We're mixing and matching. It's early in training camp. All those guys are working hard. They're tough. They're athletic. Feel really good about where we are on the offensive line. Eventually, it'll shake itself out as we move through camp. Only in day 3, headed into day 4 now, so it's too early to tell. But all those guys are working really hard, and they're a fun group to coach.
You mentioned the wide receiver group in your opening. You guys have to replace a lot of production there, but you added a couple of veteran players from the transfer portal. Just what do you think that Jermaine Burton and Tyler Harrell can bring to this offense?
Yeah, those guys have stepped in with the addition of, Ja'Cory Brooks coming back from last year, some of the younger players that have stepped in. It's a very hard-working group. They're well coached by Coach Wiggins. He does a really good job with that group. It's a group that has, again, kind of like the offensive line, a mixture of veteran players, whether they came from other programs, and also this mixture of young guys that are in that group. So working very hard early in training camp. We like the presence that Jermaine Burton has brought to that position, Tyler Harrell, the presence that those guys have brought to that position. But again, just like the offensive line, it'll continue to develop over time. We're early in camp, like I've said, and we'll see how it all shakes out over the next few weeks.
With that group, what have you seen in terms of the challenge from the guys who returned at receiver when they have two transfers come in and compete with that?
I think that's a great question. I think that's the way of the world in college football, right? I mean, I'll leave a lot of that to Coach Saban, and he can, I'm sure he's been asked about that. But I think when you think about the portal and you think about the different things, that's just the way it is. You're always going to try to do what's best for your football team. That's what Coach Saban always tries to do. And so if there's a guy out there or 2 guys out there that you think can help your football team and they're interested in coming here, then that's something that we'll always explore. So the addition of those guys, they're hardworking guys, they're good guys, they're good teammates. It's been, to me, at this point, a seamless transition.
Hey, Coach, good morning. Can you talk about the backup quarterbacks behind Bryce and the competition there?
Yeah, both these guys, Jalen Milroe's been here for a little over a year, and he's really improved in the offense. He's improved in his knowledge. It's very important to him. He prepares behind the scenes. I think the coaching that goes on in that room, not just me, but the other guys in that room, has helped. But also Bryce Young has helped. He does a good job working with Jalen and Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson, just having gotten here in January, is a very bright guy, a young player, inexperienced obviously, but works very hard and tries to get better every day. And I think that's the key. If you can try to improve every single day, I think that's what football is all about. Like, it's an improvement game. Who can get better each and every day and put their best foot forward each and every day. And I think that's what both those guys are doing. So, it's been a good group to coach. It's a good room. We got 3 walk-ons in there that are doing a good job. So it's been a fun group to coach.
Yeah, at the running back position, you've had in recent years bigger backs like a Najee or a Brian. You don't necessarily have that guy. Does that change the approach of how you kind of utilize the running backs, or how does that kind of work?
I think that would be the same, every single year with different skill guys at all the positions. You have to look at what you have, what their skill sets are, and how you're going to use them in the offense. At the running back position, we have a lot of talent there. Feel really good about that position. With the addition of Jahmyr Gibbs in the offseason, then Jace McClellan and Roydell Williams and Trey Sanders coming back. We have Emmanuel Henderson, who's been added to the mix there. Very, very good position. Another position that, you can really watch every single day. They compete, but they're very tight-knit. It's a fun group to coach, and there's talent there. So, we have to do a good job, like you asked, of figuring out, okay, what do these guys do well? When they're in the game, what are we going to do with them? But that's a good problem to have, and I think that, again, over time will, it'll be proven over the next 20 or 25 practices as we go through training camp how we're going to use those guys.
You brought up Bryce Young in your opening statement, and I wanted to ask about the benefits of being able to have him in your system for a second season. You already had a great year last year, but what room for improvement do you see in his game, and is there room for improvement?
There's always room for improvement. I think when you look at last year, we studied a lot of his play last year, what we did offensively last year. We've got some new staff members that have brought in new ideas. We've talked to Bryce about these new ideas in addition to maybe some things we both can improve on. I'm in this offense for the second year. He's going into his third year in this offense. So hopefully you'll see improvement just in knowledge of scheme and how to use that scheme against the different defenses we're going to see. But Bryce is always looking to improve. Every single day he comes in there, he's somebody that goes out to the practice field and really is striving for perfection every single day, and that's a great guy to coach.
Coach, the college game is completely changed since you were at Penn State. I mean, when you consider just the whole landscape of it, and NIL, the portal, and everything else, is it remarkable to you that it's flipped around so much since you were last a head coach at this level?
Yeah, I mean, my focus obviously is on my job here and what we have to do as an offensive staff to put the best offense out there that we can possibly put out there. But with that, with regards to your question, it has changed a lot, right? And it's changed for the betterment of the game, I believe, in some ways. It's changed for the betterment of the players. The players are in a spot now where they can achieve a lot of different things, not just on the field, but off the field. And I think we all kind of saw this coming, when we were 10 to 15 years ago. I think Coach Saban, he saw this coming. He was on the forefront of it, and here it is. And so we just deal with it. I think we do a great job here of thinking about it, led by Coach, how we're going to, approach it, because it is what it is. You got to adapt. You have to adapt to the times, and I think that's one thing that I've learned a ton from him, watching every single day how he adapts to the changing times, not only on the field but off the field, and I think we do a great job of that here.
You talked about the depth at running back, but you guys added a guy in Jahmyr Gibbs. What does that versatility in a player like that add to this offense?
Yeah, Jahmyr's, again, having just arrived here in January, learning the system, he's a very bright guy. He's a very talented guy, in addition to the other guys that are there, right? So Jace and Roy, Trey Sanders, all of those guys played important roles last year. Jace and Roy before they got injured. Trey, late in the year played an important role for us. So the mixture of all of those guys at that position is very, very good. We have to do a good job as a coaching staff. That's another coach, Coach Gillespie, that does a great job coaching that position, and we have to do a great job of making sure, we're doing things that suit their skill sets, because they're all a little bit different. But that's, like I said before, that's really a good thing for our offense.
Coach, I think we've asked you about every position, but tight end. But with Cam out, who are some of the guys you need to step up at that position right now?
Yeah, I'll start by saying Cam, it's unfortunate what happened to him, but he's right. This is a guy that's just a great guy. He's in the training room that day working to get back. He's been in there, it almost seems like, 12 to 15 hours a day working hard to get back. So he'll be back at some point. I think Robbie Utes has really improved. Robbie Utes is somebody that's worked really hard to improve. And then Miles Kitselman, the junior college transfer that's come in, he's a hard-working guy. He's getting used to the way we do things here, but I think he's a guy that is a solid player that can help us. And then there's a lot of young guys. Don't want to get into all the young guys, but there are some young guys at that position that we really believe can help us too. So we've got a number of guys at that position that can take up the slack while Cam is out, and they just need to keep working hard and improving. Yeah. Hey, Gene.
Question, a couple follows if you don't mind.
Yeah.
You had options post-Houston Texans. Why exactly did you decide to come here and work with Nick Saban?
It was one of those things where when you get fired in coaching, you find out really right away that maybe you don't have as many friends as you thought you did have. And I think when Coach Saban reached out to me and talked to me about this job as they were getting ready for the national championship game, I didn't feel like, as I talked about it with my wife Colleen and our family, I didn't think it was anything that I could pass up. To have the opportunity to work for the greatest college coach of all time, arguably one of the greatest coaches of any sport, I don't think you could pass that up. To learn from him, to come into this program and see how he does things, to be an offensive coordinator again with a lot of great players and a great coaching staff, that wasn't anything that I could pass up. And so we talked about it for about a day, and we decided that that was the best decision for our family.
There have been more than a few head coaches who have come through this program and gotten head coaching jobs from here. If you decide to pursue something in the future, how do you think this experience has helped you?
You know, if that's something that's down the road for me, Gene, again, like I said earlier, I'm very focused on, you know, trying to improve this offense each and every day and work with the coaching staff to get better. But if I'm fortunate enough to have that opportunity again, and who knows if that will come down the pike, but if it is, this will be an amazingly invaluable experience for me, because you're able to watch coach every single day, work with us as a coaching staff, work with the players, work with the support staff. And, you know, the process is something that he talks about a lot, and you learn about the different processes within the program. And I think that's something that has been invaluable to me, and it's something that I'll hold dear to me for the rest of my career, this experience here.
I'm just curious, Bill, at Penn State and with the Texans, did you ever hire a former head coach? And if not, what does it say about Nick that he's been willing to do that?
Yeah, I did. You know, I hired, first guy that comes to mind is Romeo Cornell. I hired Romeo when I was in Houston, and he was a great asset for me in Houston, a great football coach and an even better person. There's probably other guys in there that had some head coaching experience, but Romeo's the one that stands out to me right away. You know, what it says about Coach Saban to hire guys that have run programs before is that he is very confident in his own ability. He wants to hire what he believes is the best of the best out there, you know, whatever it is, coaches, support staff around him. And he wants to make sure that he's doing everything he can to help the players get better. And I think that when you see, you know, his track record of who he's hired here, he's had some great staffs here. And he's very confident in what he does, his process, and obviously that's been proven through time, and it's been, for me, great to be a part of it. Okay, thanks, guys.
So that meant if I was a stronger athlete, I could carry more of the pig weight, and my teammate could rest perhaps for 3 to 4 consecutive flips. This makes it much harder for that weaker athlete that could be struggling when it's their time to step up.
Now, Training Think Tank's got a lot of ground to cover here, but they're doing and I know it's number of flips, not distance, but you can see how quickly they are gaining ground on 1855 in terms of the pig flip efficiency.
Yeah, and it's easy to kind of assume who will do well, right? If we look statistically at who might have the larger deadlift or the larger power clean, those are the athletes who are going to have an easier time with that pig flip.
Here comes 1855 again with a minute and a half remaining to work.
It's just taking them so much longer probably than expected on the rings. It's chewing up a lot of time, and so I'm surprised we're probably aren't going to get the team to finish here in this first heat.
Does that surprise you that the rings were that much of a stumbling block?
I did. I really thought teams would come out and just do small sets, 3s, 2s, maybe possibly a set of 5 in the first, 5 and